to Study Smarter's top tips for writing an abstract. This video is particularly for honours or coursework master's students who are writing a thesis or a dissertation. This video will explain why abstracts are important, what to include in them, and how to go about writing one that will encourage lots of people to read about your research. Abstracts are important for a number of reasons. They are usually the first thing people read about your research. Hopefully, this video will help ensure your abstract is not the only thing they read. Abstracts are also important because they contain all the salient points of your research. They need to be written in a well-organised, precise, and engaging manner. You probably know that abstracts are found at the beginning of all theses, dissertations, and journal articles. We also write abstracts to encourage organisers to accept our papers at conferences. However, this video focuses on writing abstracts for honours and master's theses and dissertations. Whatever the reason for writing an abstract, it's a good idea to think carefully about what to include. To start with, it's useful to know that abstracts are standalone documents that provide an overview of the researcher's project, and that effective ones vary in length from 250 to 500 words. Before you start writing, it's a good idea to spend some time thinking about what it's vital to include in your abstract. Here are some ideas. First, it's best to identify your main topic or your research area. Then include your purpose for carrying out your research. Next, explain how you gathered your information. Talk about your methodology. Readers will also want to know what your main findings were and what the main contributions of your research are. So make sure all of these are part of your abstract. Some things are optional. So depending on your topic, you may consider including why your research is important, for example, how it might contribute to knowledge in your area, what previous research has been done in your area, and the particular gap you're addressing. There are a few things that are generally not included, although this isn't a rule. And in fact, everything I say are just guidelines. Some things that are not generally included are abbreviations, like we don't usually write DOB for date of birth. We don't use acronyms like SARS for severe acute respiratory syndrome. Citations or references, and this depends on your topic, can be left out as well, though if your thesis is in response to a particular article, well then obviously you'll want to reference that. Definitions can be put in the body of your thesis or dissertation, and symbols like 1% shouldn't be in the abstract. A point to remember. Okay, it may seem obvious, but I think it's worth mentioning that it's best to organise information in your abstract in the same order that you covered it in your thesis or dissertation. At the end of most abstracts, you'll see a line of keywords. It's worth spending time thinking about how using the most appropriate ones will point people in the direction of your research. To help choose your keywords, ask yourself questions like, what are the main areas I discussed in my thesis or dissertation? What words did I use time and time again? Or, if I was trying to find research on my topic, what words would I use in a keyword search? Importantly, keywords help other researchers find your work, and the more people who know about and read your work, the more likely you and your work will become well known. Students often ask, when is the best time to write an abstract? Obviously, the final version can only be written when you've finished your research. However, many people find writing a draft early in the thesis or dissertation writing process helps them stay focused. Remember, an abstract contains the most significant aspects of your research. So how can you work out the most salient points in your research? One way is to ask yourself a series of questions and to record the answers. Then you can use your answers to write the first draft of your abstract. Here are some questions you could ask yourself. They are just a guide, so adjust them to suit your project. You could start with, what is my research actually about? What was the problem I addressed? Why did I do it? Why did I think it was important to do research in this particular area? How did I go about getting my data? For example, what methodology did I use? For example, was it through interviews, a series of experiments, or library research, or all of those? You might also want to ask, what were my key findings? And what was my main conclusion or conclusions? Another question could be, what's the wider use or importance of what I found? How will others be able to use my work? Your answers will make up your abstract. Just as you proofread and edit your thesis and dissertation, so you will have to do the same with your abstract. When you think you have a final draft, take time to do another check. Make sure you have put the most important information at the beginning of your sentences. Good sentences have just one main point, so make that point stand out. Use verbs, that is, doing or action words, rather than a mixture of nouns and verbs. Instead of saying, the conclusion provides suggestions for future research, it would be better to say, the conclusion suggests topics for future research. Use precise language. For example, this paper begins immediately with a brief statement about how clearing trees can lead to huge areas of really saline farmland. Could be changed to, this paper explores the effect of tree clearing on broadacre farming. Cut out extra words. Don't write, it was clearly evident, just write, it was evident. Or don't write at the end of the day, just write finally. Now, if you have enough information to start writing your abstract, you could stop listening now. However, if you'd like to see some examples, keep listening for a bit longer. Click on the arts box for an example of an arts social science example, or click on the science box for a science example. In this arts social science type of abstract, notice that the author uses two short statements to explain the research focus. The gap in the research is clearly identified in this abstract, as you can see in the highlighted section. Following the mention of the gap, the author identifies two objectives of the research. The first one, to establish what kinds of waste and pollution are generated by the motion picture industry, and to determine whether or not sufficient efforts are made within the industry to improve sustainability. Next, two key findings are specified, both of which relate to the previously stated purpose. So you can see those in the highlighted section. The concluding statement suggests what could be done to improve environmental practices in the movie industry, and this relates back to the first sentence of the abstract. Now, this is the end of the arts social science example. Click on the blue box to go to the end of the video, or to the science box if you'd like to have a look at the science example. The following example is relevant to science postgrads and honours students. This abstract begins with a clear statement of the thesis topic, which is highlighted in blue. The current state of research is identified and highlighted in the next sentence. The abstract continues with a one-sentence statement explaining that, despite previous research, there is a particular gap in the knowledge about this topic. Similarly, the main purpose of the research is mentioned in just one sentence. The methodology is also stated in a clear, precise sentence. The main findings are described more fully because they are the most salient aspects of the research. So I'll give you a little bit of time to read them. The abstract concludes by pointing out what the results imply. I hope you've enjoyed this Study Smarter video and that now you'll find it easier to write a well-organised, precise and engaging abstract which includes all the salient points of your research.